For this set of slides, I'm going to look at some of the different communication signals that horses use to indicate to humans exactly how they're feeling. The horse in the first picture you're going to see a little later because he is one of Sarah's horses and she works with him pretty well. But I thought this picture was a great indication of what a calm and alert and aware horse looks like. There are many different signs to look for when you're trying to identify how a horse is feeling, and the first sign to look at are their ears. In this particular picture, Rollo's ears are up and they're pointed forward, which means he's listening to the world around him, but he's also not afraid. The next sign to look at would be that his eyes. His eyes are open, they're observant, they're looking around. He's not afraid, they're not wide, you can't see the whites of his eyes. His nostrils aren't flared, which indicates scared or uncomfortable situations, and his mouth and lips are calm and relaxed. So this is a very clear indication of what a happy, content, calm horse looks like. The horse in the second picture is also another of Sarah's horses, and this one's named Rue. And in this picture, she really exemplifies what a quiet, submissive, and attentive horse looks like. Her ears are up and they're pointed forward, and her eyes are open, but they're looking down. Her head is down, she's very calm, her nostrils aren't flared, her face is relaxed, she looks generally like she could go to sleep. The third horse, and the last one on this slide, is a friend of mine's horse, and he is exemplifying a relaxed, comfortable, content horse. When you're looking at him, the first thing you notice that his ears are up, but they're turned outward. This is a very common thing that you notice when horses are grazing because they're listening to the world around them. They're making sure that they aren't going to get spooked or afraid. Horses are prey animals, so it's clear with the position of his ears that he's listening to a possible threat or danger. His eyes are open and they're concentrating, but it's concentrating on what he's doing, which is eating. It's not looking afraid. It's not looking at something that's a possible threat. His nostrils aren't flared. He looks very restful, very peaceful, and he's also not pulling on his lead, which is another important thing to recognize. And all three of these horses on these slides is that they're not pulling against their restraint. They're not afraid of what's holding on to them. They're very comfortable with that situation as well. For this slide, I'm going to look at two other common horse behaviors and the signs that go into recognizing them. In the first picture, it is actually brother and sister pair. This is Rollo and Little. They are Sarah's horses as well. So it makes sense, since they're related, for them to be friendly with each other, but also curious and inquisitive and affectionate. The signs that you see in this picture is that Little's ears are turned outward, and she's definitely assessing how she feels about her brother. Her eyes are watchful, her nostrils are slightly flared, but you notice that they're affectionate because they're in such close proximity without biting or acting out against each other that they actually really aren't upset. They're just more rather trying to figure out how they're going to handle things and how they feel about each other. Rollo is a little more lackadaisical in this picture. His ears are also turned outward, but he seems a little calmer. It's general with geldings. This could be that Little's showing some mare-type behaviors, which is girls have an attitude most of the time, and that could be part of her facial expression, but they're definitely not angry. They're not upset with each other. They're just kind of horsing around. As far as the second picture on this slide goes, it's pretty obvious that this is a very angry horse. Anger is an emotion in horses that people can typically easily recognize because the signs are so obvious. This horse has ears that are laid back flat, her eyes are narrowed and stressed, and her nostrils are flared, the veins are popping out in her face. She just looks overall angry. She has an irate body posture. She looks really tense. She looks like she's ready to either back up or attack what's in front of her. Most people can recognize this type of emotion in a horse. This emotion is a situation with horses that you really don't want to get involved with. A very angry horse could be detrimental to a person because they weigh a lot more than we do. So they could physically injure you or attack you, and there wouldn't be much you could do about it. Overall, the horses on this slide really have clear indications of how they're feeling. This isn't always the case, but for these types of emotions, it's pretty common to see these signs and understand what's happening. You can definitely tell that Little and Rollo are inquisitive and wondering and curious, and that the horse is angry, but not all signs in horses are as common and as simple as this. And on the next set of slides, I'm going to show you some other pictures of horses that have emotions or have an instance that you might have not recognized in the first place. It's pretty evident that on this slide, both these horses are relatively upset, but it's different levels of upset, and the different signs to look for at the different levels is that I really want to point out. So the first horse is very, very frightened. You can definitely tell by the fact that his eyes are wide, his mouth is open, he's pulling on the lead rope, which is, I'm assuming, attached to his handler. He's also off balance. Horses really like to stay on balance because it means they're in control. So if he is that much off balance, he's clearly really upset by what's ever happening around him right now. And these are equally as dangerous horses as the ones on the page before because they can definitely hurt a person. Right now he's backing away. He doesn't look like he's going to charge or attack at any point, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. A frightened horse is an unpredictable horse, and although horses are relatively unpredictable all of the time, in this state in particular, you definitely don't know what's going to happen next. This is a state and an emotion that you really want to get calmed down as quickly as possible so that the horse doesn't hurt itself, the horse doesn't hurt you. Although the safety and health of the horse is definitely a priority, in a situation like this, it's almost more important to put yourself first. The horse is more than likely going to be okay if you relieve the pressure and give in to whatever's happening. And it might not be the best for your communication at that point, but it's definitely important to make sure that you regain control over the animal, as well as make sure you yourself don't get hurt, because overall that is the true priority when working with an animal much larger than you, is that making sure at the end of it that you're okay. The second horse on this slide is an emotion that is very common to anybody who has ever ridden horses before. This is a spooked horse, but spooking horses have variations of spooking. For example, my horse personally does not do much when she spooks other than get very stiff and stand completely still and back up. Some horses will run off when they spook. Some horses will be, irate and angry when they spook. This horse in this picture looks like it's just surprised. He might have walked up on something, or someone might have walked up on him that scared him a little bit and he wasn't expecting it. You can see that his eyes are wide. You can see the whites of his eyes. He looks very tense. He looks uncomfortable. And in this situation, the horse is, since he is also a prey animal, he's trying to get away from whatever uncomfortable situation he's in and relieve that stress that's on him. So you're going to want to make sure that the horse doesn't run off, that when they have an emotion like this, that you gain control of them so that they don't, try to escape from it and they, run into somebody. Of course, horses have other emotions than the ones that were described on this slide, and they probably keep them hidden pretty well most of the time. I think that the easiest signs to recognize how your horse is feeling, though, come from their face. It's pretty obvious that you can tell when a horse is angry, when a horse is upset, when a horse is happy, when a horse is wondering, just from looking at the position of their ears and their eyes and their mouth. And hopefully, this set of slides helps you understand a little bit on how to identify how a horse is feeling in a particular moment. Thanks.